Everybody, so I think we're done with the validation, the field level validation on exponent fog density. I think that is done. It's working. I like we've gone up and down the path several times, and it seems to be pretty clean from top to bottom. Obviously not perfect. There's obviously some pieces that would be better if we could do them a different way, but there's like technical limitations that prevent it. There's also things that maybe we could have gone a little bit more abstract with and add maybe another layer or two of abstractions, and maybe they'd feel a little better from a, you know, I don't know, from a whatever that kind of feeling is, where it just matches up with the sort of academic ways that we like to do things. But it's probably too far. I think there's the whole Goldilocks thing where like we could have made it to where everything's handled in the component and whatever, you just handle it there and never worry about it, and that would have been, the bed's too small, and we probably could have added a few more layers of abstraction, um, and that bed would have been too big, so this is just right, I think, for now. So when we built this out, what happened was I got it working at the component level, and then I added a UI validation. I sort of had a lot of consternation and back and forth. Should I have this layer? And then should I ever have another layer above it? And I finally decided yes, I need another layer that has more generic validation, and then the UI validation service would then take that and make that more specific for Angular forms, and then the manager would then go ahead and use that. And everything is all based on the path. So if when you give it the path, and the path would be the scene, it's in the scene and it's fog density, then it gives it a set of tokens for that. And that was another thing, is at first I thought it was just one token, but then I realized no, a field could have more than one token. So we need to sort of break those two concepts apart. One is, hey, um, the tokens give you things like the error message, various things, and then all that. And that was built by going sort of starting at the form level and working our way up. And then once we got to the top, sort of working our way back down again and checking to see that everything kind of makes sense all the way back down again, and making tweaks and cleaning it up, and then working way back up. And I think we kind of did that like probably four times, where we started at the bottom, sort of let it all sort of organically kind of get more and more, break things up into more and more abstract pieces. And then once we had gone sort of full abstract, then working our way back down, making sure that the way all the wording and everything fits together and makes sense. And we did that a few times. And that's kind of how that goes. And I think when you don't have any underlying architecture, that's probably the best way to go, is sort of from the front end and work your way to the back end. Now, or from the bottom all the way to the top, from the component all the way up to the top level services. And a lot of times it's much easier for the, like if you're building on API, for the API people then to be able to um, build, when you can give them strong types and say, hey, this is what I expect to get in, and this is what I'm putting out. And then they can decide on the API side what pieces they want to handle and what pieces you want to handle at the bottom. So I feel like that works the best when there's nothing exists. But now we have an architecture, and we need some more validation. And the validation I want now is something that, where if I hit a letter, then I get, it refuses the letter, it rejects the letter, and then maybe possibly I get a little icon either here or, yeah, probably like right there. Um, I don't know what's constraining all of this. I'm sure it's some CSS, but a little icon that goes beyond out here, possibly, that you can click on, and then it explains to you what was wrong with the last letter. So the idea is I would type in the letter A, you would see A for a fraction of a second, probably see this little error show up. And this is how I'm envisioning it, right? So I'm just imagining this, and then suddenly it would be gone, and you'd get a little error note, a little icon there that shows that there was like some sort of error. And then if you click on it, um, you would then get a little pop-up that says what the problem was, and basically it would say, hey, you can only have one decimal point, or you can only have letter numbers and letter and decimal point and a single decimal point. Some sort of message like that when you click. And now it is so important, if there's any intention, and in this application I don't really have an intention for this ever to do mobile. I kind of played around with the idea, thought of that at the beginning, but I just don't think that works. Um, but if it ever was going to be mobile, you really don't want hover. There is no hover equivalent in mobile. Almost every application or enterprise application I've ever worked on, um, they built it with the intention of it eventually working in mobile, and then they build hover things, and then they build additional functionality on clicks, and then they have no good way of giving messages on mobile because you can't hover. And so that is kind of the problem. And then it's also kind of tough for like let's say someone can't, um, like all they can do is tab and stuff. They can't, they don't have a mouse on the other side of things. When do you do the hover event? Typically what happens is you tab to the icon and then you hit enter or space. I can't remember which one, but you hit a button and then it'll do a pop-up, and then that would explain what's going on. Um, and the people that normally need to do that are like blind people and other people like that, where they're like a screen reader is reading stuff out. So they would get like an icon that they would click to, and then they would go into it. They would pop it open, and then the screen reader would tell them whatever it needs to tell them. And that is like not or sometimes people just don't have access to a mouse for some reason, and and in either of those cases, hover doesn't make any sense. So you really don't want to go down that road. It's sort of a bad practice. Is a anti-pattern. Um, it's really great on a computer with a mouse. It is. It's fantastic, but it doesn't work otherwise. So, anyways, with all that said, what I have two choices at this point. I can start at the bottom, right? I could say, oh, okay, I'm going to create an icon, and then I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna get this message up and sort of let it work its way up, kind of the way we did it to begin with, which has a lot of advantages because there are going to be some technical challenges when we do to get all those pieces working. So it would be kind of nice to get those done first, and then not have to worry about, then when we work our way back up, we don't have to worry about doing something that prevents us from being able to do that. But I find that basically all you're doing when you do it that way, and there's an existing architecture, is adding extra paths up and down. Like you have to kind of figure out and make sure everything works and get it all working and work your way organically up your existing architecture. And then you got to read back down and make sure that everything reads right. And usually you have to do that a couple times, just like we did. But if you start at the top and work your way down, yes, there can be some challenges, and you might paint yourself into a corner where you have to do some redo work at the back because you, for some reason, are not supporting something. But you just do that first pass. It's hard. No matter which way you go, it's going to be difficult doing that first pass. But I think you have one less pass if you start at the top. I think when I started these video series, these videos about ThreeJS and all that, I did not have that opinion. I was like, always start at the bottom and work your way up. But then just for fun, I tried it from the top down, and it just worked so much better. It was a lot faster. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do. And so the first step in this new concept is at the very, very top is to, I think our existing, our interface is fine because this is still the invalid positive float. So now let's go to the validation service. And in the validation service, basically, it seems to me what I need to do is add a new one of these text for token dictionaries. My assumption is that I know what the token is when I'm down here. So I just remember that. I'm not going to even go verify that because I'm 99.999999999% sure. I will be shocked if I go look at that code and I don't know what the token is when I'm sitting in the validation, uh, the scene manager component. Like I will be dumbfounded if I don't know that. I'm 99. I'm as close to 100 as I could possibly be. So I'm basically just going to add another dictionary, and this is going to be keystroke. Nope, I'm going to start with validation. Validation keystroke function for token dictionary. So basically, this dictionary, I think I have to make it an any, and because I think there's a an issue. It's not a problem, but an issue with the compiler. If I try to interrogate this dictionary and it has a type with a variable. So if I try to do this where I say something along the lines of this, where I say check with these variables, I don't think the TypeScript compiler, the Angular compiler, will let it compile if this is strongly typed. So I would love for it to be strongly typed, but I don't think there's any way to get it to compile with variable interrogation if I strongly type it. Now, maybe there is a way and I just don't know how, or it's possible we are on November 2nd, 2024, and maybe and Angular 19 is supposed to come out on November 19th. I think that's funny. I think that's cool. It's going to be easy to remember. On November 19th, 2024, and maybe this will be fixed in Angular 19. And boy, do I hope this is done on by the time that is, because every time a new version comes out, I need to upgrade this project. I need to upgrade my web project that I'm currently working on, and I need to create a new. I built a Angular, a ThreeJS application in less than 10 minutes video in Angular 19. And so, so I have a bunch of things that I have to do every time a new version of Angular comes out. And so that happens in 17 days. So hopefully this is completely done in 17 days. So anyways, this dictionary is going to have an invalid, positive, float. I'm just going to copy that. So I actually started working on programming computers before copy and paste existed. Like copy and paste didn't exist at all. And that is, man, the whole skill, like people who are so good at not making errors typing, like that was the skill. And now that skill isn't as valuable. And then, and it's kind of funny how things like the important skill is constantly changing because of technology changes. Like being able to remember the name of functions used to be such an important skill, and now it's not because you get this little pop-up helper. So I'm just going to comment this out for the moment. And so basically down here, I want a positive float validator. And I guess I'm going to say key stroke. So that's for a keystroke, and a value is, so what for what I want, a single parameter is not going to be good enough, and I don't know if what kind of implications having two parameters is going to be. So that's going to be pretty interesting. But I want to key, and that's going to be a string. And basically, I can't even test this. I hate that. So basically, I want to make sure that that there's only one. I guess I can do that like that. That there's only one that there's only one decimal point and that it's all numbers. And I guess I don't need to send in. If I send in the value, okay, yeah. So the way this code will work is if I send in the value and they happen to have added a second decimal, it'll just delete whatever the new value is. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't need this key in a string. And then I want to ask ChatGPT you create a regular expression that for floating, for positive floating numbers only allows one decimal point. And I have to hit this button because that is, for some reason, a rule. Whenever you have an arrow, you can hit enter. Okay, so it says that this asserts the start of the string matches one or more digits. Oh, and it could optionally be one or more digits. And it says that it will allow any of these. And will fail because of the negative, will fail because of the double positive. So I think that's good. That's good. I'll take this. I'll take its word on this. I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours studying regular expressions and understanding things like that, and it just is always like, I don't know. I guess the problem probably is that I don't have a grip on the. So this is the same. This is identical, I think. That would be nice. Let's see. So first, second, third, fourth. Okay, so let's see. So on the keystroke, I will run this function, this validator, so I don't even need this. I'll run this validator, and basically if it fails, I'm just going to get rid of the last. Oh, that's not good enough. Because it is possible that someone could type in. So, okay, so let's say somebody types in 1.00 at 1.005, and then they decide to go back and click a period. Then that means that I need to get rid of that period. But okay, so but it's still the same validation. It's the same validation, whether in this specific case it's the same validation. They have basically taken it. Now it's not at this level to figure out why it's broken. It's only at this level to figure out if it is broken or not broken. Conceptually, it doesn't make sense for this one, for at this level, for it to try to figure out, okay, well, what's wrong with it? They just gave me a number and it's wrong, and how do I undo that, basically at the form level, I need to do an analysis of the whole value. And if they manage to if they've decided to paste something in, or if they've decided and they've got it screwed up in some other way, then there is where I need to figure out, are there more than, yeah, there's where I need to just go through and find anything that isn't a string or a number. I mean, basically, I'll remove I'll remove all but the very first decimal point, and I'll remove and I'll remove anything that isn't a number. And so that is not a validation issue. That is more of a cleaning issue. Okay, that's good. That's good. We figured that out. So, is the keystroke ever a different thing now? That's the question. I don't think it is. I don't think the keystroke validation ever is different. I think I think on keystrokes, all we ever want to do is validate the entire thing, and validation doesn't care about cleaning it up or fixing it. That's not part of validation. So we'll just remove that. So then we've made the rule that we don't care about. All we care about is the whole thing valid, not if the last key that was placed in made it invalid. We just want to know if the whole thing is valid. So we'll just leave that at that. So let's move. So then this is done. So we can leave. There's no changes at the validation service. So let's move down the tree a little bit to UI validation service. And I don't think there's any changes at this UI validation service. So it seems like all of our changes are at the scene manager. And basically, the scene manager needs a key up. So we need to add a key up event to this input. And on the key up, we need to validate. And whenever we validate on the key up, then if it's invalid, then we make more decisions. But we can use the existing information, and we know that our validations are token based. So maybe once we start using the token, and I want it on key up, and there's difference. So when you do key up, what happens is the letter will show up for a second and then it'll go away. If you do it on key down, it actually removes it before the letter ever shows up. So it just can kind of feel like that the keyboard is broken. So the user experience, it's a bit of an argument whether you want to sort of just completely disable it or whether you want it to just sort of come in and then go away. And because it's very disturbing to the users can honestly think that their keyboard is broken. That happens all the time. So I'm going to use the key up, and I think I can just say key up equals, and then validate fog density. And then I think there's the event, and the fog density knows which it's up to. I'm not trying to make a generic validation at this point. So I think the event will have the key and the whole value. So I'm just gonna do this. So I kind of had it in my head that I was going to end up doing like all of every, like it made so much sense on the other validation to sort of create this big abstract thing and handle it across all these layers of abstraction. But then, like on keystroke validations, it seems like we're in the exact opposite. It doesn't make any sense at all. It seems like to add all these layers of abstraction. And for some reason, these two things seem so. I'm just going to call this an any for the moment. Seems so related, and I don't think it will update anything. Void, and then so this is the time that it's very, very easy to. It's typically very, very easy to figure out what your type is, your strong type is. Usually, a lot of times, it just makes sense to, if you don't know what the strong types are, to figure them out at the end. And I don't. Did something break? That's so weird. Because I'm expecting. Did I not save? I did not save. Did I not save? Oh, I need the dollar. I do not know what that dollar means. I don't. I've been asked that by many a junior developer, and then I've gone off to try to figure that out, and I've asked ChatGPT. I've never gotten a good, useful answer. Maybe I'll try again here really quick since we're here. Never give up. Yeah, okay, so we got our keyboard event. We know that what we got was an A, and that A is not legal. We have our target, so we can have our. Do I have a whole value? No. So in the target has a value is what I would guess, and I think it's usually. Yeah, usually it's after these three dots. Yeah, value, and then that's a string. So then at this point, I'll take that and I will pass that up the line to our validator. Our validator will say it's false, and then I'll add code to restore it to its original value. That's probably the best way to do that. So then and I don't know if we have the original value in here. It would be nice if like there was previously. Now I think we also know the form, and the form I think will have the previous value on it. So that probably will be the best place to get to the original value. So if it comes back false, we'll just restore it to the original value. That's the plan. Okay, so now I'm going to try yet again to ask ChatGPT this code. Dollar question mark. Event binding for the key up event. What? I know that. Itself doesn't have a special meaning in JavaScript. Here it's simply part of the Angular syntax to represent the event object. So can I say $EV? $E. No, see, it doesn't know what that is. Dollar. It has to be event. Okay, so to be dollar event. Does it have to be dollar event or does something else work? See, I wonder if a human being would be able to understand what I mean by that. Oh, okay. That is the answer. That is the answer I've been looking for all these years. In Angular, dollar $event is the predefined variable representing the event object in templates, so it must be dollar $event. You can't substitute with any other name directly in templates, or as Angular specifically recognizes dollar $event to refer to the event of the triggered event. However, once you pass dollar $event into function, you can rename it to whatever you want. So, and then they do this kind thing. Okay, so that whole point of that was for me to look at this and show that you can just, now it's the easiest thing to do is just come in here, grab that, come up here and do this. And instead of event any, replace that with keyboard event. And then that's that. So we are, so I think we're probably pretty far in this. Yeah, we're 31 minutes. So that was a long video. Sorry about that. So the next video, basically, I'm going to do the validation. I'm going to, oh, okay. There's one other thing I wanted to do. Can I add my token? To this. I don't know if I can do this. Okay, so that went away. That went away, and I really want to send an array. Do I want to send it? No, I don't want to send an array because it maybe in other, but this seems like these are all going to be one-off solutions that are very, very specific. Yeah, because the part that I want to share, the part I don't want to duplicate is the actual validation, but the way that you fix things and all that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me to try to guess how I'm going to be using that. So there's one. So now we want to see if I can strongly type that. Let's see if this works. All right, so now that's tied in. So only a validation types would work. It probably would make, there's no reason. I'm gonna have to do rework no matter what if we decide that this needs a second kind of validation. So I think that makes sense. So now next video, I will use that validation token. I'll get the value and I will let this thing figure out if the validation is if it's validated or not, and we'll go from there. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.